In this video, I am going to go over the following 20 questions related to arithmetic, some scientific notation, a little bit of rounding. So let us try question 1. For question number 1, I have negative 2.5 plus 8.71. I do notice, so here the positive is bigger than the negative, so my answer is going to be positive. But as I will not use a calculator for any of these questions, okay, so I will write this out directly, okay, and I always take the bigger magnitude number and I subtract the smaller magnitude number from it. So lining these up and doing my subtraction, 1 minus 0, 7 minus 5, the decimal stays in the same spot, 8 minus 2, and as I said, the answer here was positive. That's question 1. All right, let us try question number 2. Now I have negative 487 minus 940. So here it's like I am in debt and I go out and I still spend money. This is not a multiplication question, which means I will have to add up my debt between these, but my answer here, I will still remain in the negative. My debt will grow, so I have to add these two up. Now adding them up, the order doesn't matter. So 0 plus 7, 4 plus 8 is 12, carry 1. 1 plus 9 plus 4 is 14. And then don't forget, it is negative. That's question number 2. Okay, let's try question number 3. Here I have a multiplication question of a decimal. And right away, I do know, because one number is positive, the first one, the second number is negative, that my answer will be negative. I can drop the negative for the moment. Next thing, what I like to do with these questions is I write the number which has more digits on top, and I drop the decimal. Now I dropped 2 decimal spots, 1, 2. Then I write the second number which has digits here in the bottom. Now I will multiply this, and again, I just will keep in mind how many decimal places I had in that question, that number. Now multiplying this through, so I start with the first, so 4 times 7 is 28, carry my 2. 4 times 9 is 36, plus 2, 38, carry my 3. 4 times 1 plus 3 is 7. I'm done with the 4. Now next, I will move over to the 3. Notice the 3 is in the tens spot, right there, which means I will continue. Okay, 3 times 7 is 21, so carry my 2. 3 times 9 is 27, plus 2, 29, carry the 2. 3 times 1 plus 2, that's 5. Now I have to add both of these together. Sometimes people like to place 0 here. So this will be 8, 9, 16, carry 1, 6. I know my answer is negative, and now I have to come back and remember that I had 2 decimal places in the first number and 2 decimal places in the second, which means in total I have 4 decimal places. And hence, I will start from the back and I will insert 4 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my decimal place goes there. So my full answer can now be written. That is question number 3. Let's take a look at number 4. Here I have a division. I am dividing by a decimal, and now I don't like to divide by decimals, so what I do is I will get rid of the decimal by multiplying by 10 once, but I also have to multiply this by 10 not to change anything, which means you're going to shift the decimal the same amount. So the decimal here switches 1 spot, and here it switches 1 spot. These have to be equal. If we had more decimals in this number, for example 2 decimals, we would have to get rid of 2 decimals, and then the other number would shift by 2 decimals. Now, because now I got rid of the decimal, then what I have is this new question. I do know, because I have a negative divided by a positive, that my answer will be negative. And now, unfortunately, yes, I have to do long division. Let's do that. (13 into 75). Now I will be guessing. So in terms of guessing, let's say 13, well, 2 is 26, then it's 39. Okay, and then after 39, I guess 4 times, it'll be around 52. Okay, so let's see, let's give it a guess of maybe 5. So it goes into it 5 times. I'm going to do that here on the side for myself. So 5, so this becomes 15, 65. Okay, so 65, so 5 times 13. Okay, so that seemed to work. So 5, so this will be 0 subtracted and 1, so we have 10. So we couldn't have fit any more 13s into that 75. So indeed that was 5. Now the decimal here will stay always in the same spot. And now I have to bring down the 1. And now again, yes, that's annoying. How many times does the 13 go into 101? Now I know that 5 gave me 65, and clearly I still have room for 101. Okay, so 6, 7, I'm gonna guess 7. Okay, so let's see, 13 times 7, so 7 times 3, 21. That's 91 that I would have. Did that work out? So 91. Okay, it looks like, so again, so 10 remaining, so I can't fit, so it wouldn't have been 8. Now if you did try 8, notice what would have happened. So this would have been 24. 8 times 1, so it would have been 104, which indeed is too big. Okay, so 7 was indeed the case. So that was that. And now we're going to bring down our 4. Oh, and look at that. Okay, so here 104 was 8, and indeed we have 104. So it looks like this is going to go 8 times. 8 times 13 is 104. Subtract gives me 0, and I'm done. And that's my answer. Except, don't forget, that it was negative. That's question 4. Let us take a look. Now at the next question. And that is question number 5. We have negative 80 divided by 2, negative 5 and 4. Here you have to be a little bit careful. Notice there are no additions and subtractions. This is actually division by 2, and then this is multiplication, and then multiplication. So here we actually, I'm just going to go in this direction, 1 by 1, always from left to right. This is just one term. Negative 80 divided by 2, okay, so that's negative 40. Then times this negative 5. So negative negative is positive. So 40 times 5. You can do that on the side. So that's 200. And now times the 4. So 200 times 4, that will be 800. And again, you can do that on the side. Okay. And that's my answer for question 5. Let's try question 6. We have negative 4.598 times 100. So this multiplication, we're actually multiplying by powers of 10, right? 100. Now, when you have that, it makes your life actually a lot easier, because this is just nothing else but 10 times 10. Now, you may recall when you multiply by 10, what you're doing is just shifting the decimal over once. And then when you multiply by 10 again, which becomes multiplying by 100, again, we'll shift the decimal over. The answer, therefore, is this. That's question 6. Question 7. Writing in scientific notation. Now, writing in scientific notation, so the negative in front just tells us the number's negative. Next, the magnitude, so this right here, in scientific notation, we need it to be between 1 and 10. So I'm going to shift this over until it is between 1 and 10, 7.86. Now, scientific notation has base 10. We shifted 2 spots, so that's our exponent. However, now remember, when your magnitude right there is less than 1, this has to be negative. And that's your answer. Let's try question 8. Once again, we have to place this in scientific notation. Again, it's negative. Just means our number will be negative. Next, we need magnitude to be between 1 and 10. So now, although the decimal is not there, we need to remember that it's at the end for these integer numbers. And we shifted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to create a mantissa. Always base 10 and now 5. And because this right here, magnitude, was now more than 1, the exponent is positive. That finishes the question. Question 9. Now we have a scientific notation number, and it is asking us to write it as a decimal or an integer. In this case, we have a negative exponent, which means we are going to be dividing. So we're going to make and shift our decimal here. Okay, so division is going to make this smaller. So we're going to go in this direction 6 times. So once, twice, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It's actually going to create a lot of zeros for us here. With now the decimal over here. Okay, so let's write this out. And now we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And our 1 and 1. So notice that's where the decimal shifted. That was 6 spots. That's question 9. Question 10. This is a long one. Let's try it. Whenever you have expressions, so do remember, we're going to be walking through here from left to right. Now, whenever you see a bracket, okay, don't jump into the bracket yet, because you're looking first for terms, because you know that addition and subtraction is always done at the end. So here's a subtraction, which means this is, on the left of it is one term. And now, again, so as you're walking through, it's multiplication, division, addition. You stop there. Okay, so that is our second term. And now again, okay, this would be our last term inside of that bracket. So let's start with the first one, this. So let's write, we have this given to us. And now again, notice you have an addition. So this will be done first. So this is 14. You're not going to add anything. You always have to do the term first. Okay, so we have 2 times 3, which is 6. And you have a negative and a positive. Okay, so that will be a subtraction. And now 14 minus 6 is 8. That completes the first term. Now let's take a look at the second term, okay, which is this one. So here I actually have just 4 minus 2 divided by 2. We're going to start always from left to right. I'll worry about the sign after. 4 times 2 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And now my sign, notice I have subtraction, a negative. So negative, negative, so that becomes positive 4. Now my last. So this. Now inside of this bracket, I have 1 minus 2 minus 4. So nothing really to do but just the subtraction. 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Minus 4 is negative 5. And now again, you have an addition. Okay, negative. So that will be subtracting 5. Now we can complete this. 8 plus 4 is 12. Minus 5 equals 7. That's a huge question, but that is the answer for this one. Let's try another question. Question 11. Round to the 10th. Well, I have to know what the 10th is. 10th is right here. I look only at the number next to it. It's a 7. It's more than 5, which means this 9 is going to go up by 1. But of course, I can't write a 10 there. So it carries over. And again, that 9 was 10, so it carries over. This becomes now 5, 0, 0.0. And we drop these because we only want it to the 10th. But you do keep the 0 so that you show the reader that it was rounded to the 10th. So please don't write just 50. Because if you want to round to the 10th, you would keep that 0. Question number 12. Round to the 100. Well, my 100 is right here. Look right next, it's a 5. So this is actually a much simpler question. Now in this case, because we have a whole number, we do keep the zeros. It's only when we have a decimal that the other digits get dropped. Here, we zero off the digits. That's question 12. Question 13. How many thousandths This is 1,000. So how many of these are in a tenth? This is a tenth. They're asking you how many of these will go into this, which is a division question. Now for division, as you may remember, we don't like to divide by a decimal. So we shift the decimal spot. Really, we're multiplying by 10 3 times until it's gone, which is going to give us just 1. But then we also have to do that to this. They always have to shift the same amount. Now if we shift that 3 times, so this right here, 1, 2, 3, okay, so it's going to turn into 100 divided by 1, which is 100. Okay, so that would be your answer. Next, question 14. Now we have -7 plus -3 minus -4 plus 1 minus 2. Okay, so we have, notice, addition, subtraction, addition, subtraction. So in reality, okay, this is our term 1, this is our term 2, term 3, term 4, and term 5. But there's nothing to do in those terms because they're just numbers. So all we have to worry about are the signs. So let us worry about the signs. So we have a positive and a negative. So that will be turning into subtraction. We have a negative and a negative. That turns into a positive. Here, there's only one sign to worry about. And now we can go ahead and subtract and add. I always just recommend just go from left to right. For instance, so this, that's -10. Now I'm going to add the 4, which is -6. Now it's plus the 1, which is -5. And then minus the 2, which is -7. And that completes that question for us. $15. Another relatively big one. Let me copy it down. Okay. First off, so let us walk through and find the terms. Now, by looking at it, so going from left to right, so I have a negative, and then I have these brackets here. Of course, these brackets match up here. And then I see subtraction. So this is one term. Next, okay, I have this bracket. I will continue until I find where it closes. So it closes here. There's actually nothing else left. So this is your second term. Let us work through them one by one. So I'm going to leave this negative here on the side and then worry on what is inside of there. So I have -2 minus 3 times 3 plus 7 minus 2. And I'll just worry about that, what you see in green. Now, walking through, so I have -2, and then a subtraction, 3 times 3, an addition, and 7 minus 2. So for this question, I have, that's one term, nothing to do there. Here's my second term, 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, there's only one sign. Then my last term, which is 7 times 2, that's 14. But remember, positive and a negative, so that's that. I'm almost done. Now I can subtract these. And again, I start from left to right. Negative 2 minus 9 is negative 11. Minus 14 is, so we're adding our debt. So 11 plus 14, but it will be negative. And that's 25. And that completes everything I had in this factor here. Now, as I said, we can't forget this, negative, okay, and of course negative, and a negative, okay, because this was so, becomes positive. So this is 25. That's that first ugly term that we have. Let's look at the second ugly one. And again, I worry about this negative later. So I have negative 1 divided by negative 1 times 4 minus 2. So in this case, okay, so I'm highlighting the subtraction. And this right here. So it's 1 divided by 1, which is 1, times 4, which is 4. And then I have a negative and a negative here. So that's positive. And then I have minus 2. That becomes 2. And again, don't forget, we have that. So we have minus, and that whole big bracket, okay, was 2. 25 minus 2 is 23. And that completes our question. Right there. Let's try the next example. Question 16. This one. Scientific notation, and it's multiplying. We have negative 2.3 times 10, power of that, multiplied by 3.1 times 10 to the minus 31. In scientific notation, when we have the same base here, when we're multiplying, then our exponents, all we do is just add them. But be careful, because you're adding, notice a negative number there. So positive and negative, so that's actually becomes subtraction in this case. And we can do that, so 102 minus 31. 2 minus 1 is 1. Now 0 minus 3 we can't, so we have to take away this 1 here. But it's just 10 minus 3. Okay, so that's 7. So our exponent is 71. Now, next, we have to worry about our mantissa here. Notice that we have a negative and then a positive. So my answer is going to be negative. Okay, so keep that in mind. And now let's try to multiply these. Okay, so multiplying. So we have 23 times 31. So this had 1 decimal. This also had 1 decimal, which I will bring back after. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 2. Okay, that's that. Now, 3 times 3 is 9. And 3 times 2 is 6. adding this. So that's 3, 2 plus 9, 11. That becomes 7. I had 2 decimals in total. I will bring this back. 1, 2. So my overall answer becomes 7.13, and it's negative. That completes this question. And I do have a mantissa, so I don't have to do anything else. Let's try now question 17. Now we have a division question. So we have 1.8 times 10 to the minus 13, and we're dividing, so you can write it in this way. That means exactly the same thing. This is called a fractional division. Now, when we divide, we subtract the exponents. So we have negative 13, so subtract, but we are subtracting a negative. And again, negative becomes positive. So really this becomes negative 13 plus 12. And that is equal to negative 1. So we have 10 to the minus 1. Next, I have to take these two and divide. So in division, 1.8 divided by 3.0. Now 3.0 is actually just 3. Becomes redundant. So let's do that division here. 3 into 1, actually it doesn't go. So we need to divide it into 18, and that goes 6 times. So 6 times 3, so indeed. So my answer here is 0.6. Now, unlike the previous question, I can't stop here as of yet because this is not a mantissa. It's less than 1, and we have to make it more than 1. So we're going to have to bring the decimal here so that it's actually 6. But if because we're bringing it here, we're multiplying by 10. So if we're making this bigger, okay, then this has to get smaller. Now, making it smaller by just that one shift, smaller by that, it's going to be negative 2. And that completes the question. Question 18. This one is a little bit shorter. We have absolute values. Remember, absolute values are just brackets that take the positive of the answer, which means, so if we have negative 3 minus 6, which is negative 9, now if you take the absolute value, it equals to 9. That one is shorter. Question 19. Back to scientific notation. I'm going to write first just the top. And we'll worry about that. And then second, we have the bottom. I like to always kind of worry about this first, and then I'll worry about this second, and then I'll do the division. Let's try that. So on top in the numerator, so I'm going to, so I have these two guys, and since we're multiplying, I'm going to be adding the exponent, so add. Notice again, so this is really that. So it's like adding your debt. It becomes negative 24. So we have 10 to the negative 24. Now, 8 times 6 we have 48. That's the top. Now, the bottom, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to first try to solve this before I do any division. So here I am multiplying this and this. So again, so negative 10. So take the exponents, add them. That would be actually, again, adding my debt. So I have this. So at the bottom, I have 10 to the negative 21. And then 2 times 4 is 8. Now I can do the division. So once again, we know that, well, in division, I have to subtract now the exponents. I have to worry about the signs here. This will turn actually positive. So you're in debt $24, and you will actually pay off some of your debt, actually almost all. So this will actually leave you only with negative 3. So that's 10 to the negative 3. And next, so 48 divided by 8, well, that's 6. Now I have a mantissa, which completes this question. So that was a long one. Last one. Now we have this example here. Copy it, I'll make it bigger. Okay, so notice we're subtracting and adding scientific notation. How does this work when you don't have a calculator? You always need to have exponents be identical. Well, they're not. So step 1, choose the one with the biggest exponent. The biggest exponent is this one, which means we do nothing here. This just stays the same. Okay, the signs stay the same. And now let us convert all the other ones to have the same exponent. Now, if I change this from 14 to 15, I've added +1. I made it bigger, which means this has to get smaller by 1. And on the right-hand side, if I change this, I am making it bigger by 2, which now means this has to get smaller by 2. And now my exponents are identical, and all I have to worry about is doing the subtraction and the addition. So I'm going to go from left to right. So first, 0.33 minus 4.1. That's the first thing that I have to do. And now notice, don't fall in the trap, okay, of trying to subtract it in this way. You have to now think, okay, I have just these two numbers. I'm doing a subtraction, but this number is bigger. So always the bigger one goes on top, and the smaller one goes at the bottom. And you have to know that the result will be negative because this one is much bigger. It's like having 33 cents here and subtracting $4.10. Okay, let's do it. I'm going to add the 0 here. So 0 minus 3 I can't do. I'm going to take away the 1. But 10 minus 3 is 7. Now again, can't do 0 minus 3. Okay, so I'll take away 1 from here. So this becomes, again, 10. So 10 minus 3 is 7. The decimal stays in the same spot. Okay, and this is 3. And don't forget, this was negative. So now we have negative 3.77 plus 0.013 from right here. And now again, I have opposite signs here. So you pick the bigger one, goes on top, minus the smaller one, which will go at the bottom. My answer will be here, negative, because this one is bigger. The negative is bigger than the positive. And now again, I subtract. So once again, I cannot do 0 minus 3. This will be 6. This will turn to 10. 10 minus 3 is 7. Now 6 minus 1 is 5. 7 minus 0. This decimal stays the same. And then 3 minus 0. And the answer was negative. So a lot of work for this one. And now don't forget, times 10 to the 15, because that's what we found right there. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found it useful. If you did, you can always let me know. Okay? Cheers from Bartek.